Democratic Rep Sri Chanadar has announced that he's going to introduce articles of impeachment against Pete Hegseth. I think this is too soon. Hegseth is being investigated by the House and the Senate right now. We would rather have that evidence. Also, the Republicans are never going to bring this to the floor. Till after the midterms, man. But if he succeeds at some point, he will only be the third cabinet member to be impeached. One of them was a Secretary of War, and the other one was last year. No one in government has good beards anymore. This is William Belknap, Ulysses S. Grant's Secretary of War, Union war hero. Giant grifter. Ulysses S. Grant's cabinet was actually not terribly dissimilar from the one that we have now. Corrupt, laden with corruption, constantly sending people to jail. Belknap here had a openly lavish lifestyle. He took bribes in exchange for jobs. That's what he did while he was Secretary of War. The day of the impeachment vote, Belknap here ran to the White House, literally ran to the White House, burst into tears in front of Ulysses S. Grant, and begged him to accept his resignation because he thought if he resigned, the House couldn't do anything. You can't impeach me. I quit. Ulysses S. Grant was not terribly bright when it came to the more conniving people around him. He was very trusting and naive. He accepted the resignation, not really understanding what was happening. It didn't work either way. They impeached him. The trial went to the Senate. He was acquitted in the Senate. Tale as old as time when it comes to impeachments in America. But the Senate acquitted him not because they thought he had done nothing wrong, but because he had resigned. Because they thought he's a private citizen. We have no jurisdiction here. He needs to go to court like a normal person. Here's what happened. He was indicted by a grand jury, a federal grand jury. Eventually, the DOJ dropped the charges because they couldn't figure out a way to make the case. He went on to have a fairly difficult life full of shocking money problems. Died at 61. Alejandro Mayorkas. Always think of Lady Gaga because of the Alejandro. He does not look like Lady Gaga. Biden's Secretary of Homeland Security. He was impeached last year in 2024 by the Republican-controlled House for basically not doing a good job with the border. If he did not run and cry to the president and resigned, he would be the first sitting cabinet member to be impeached. And he was impeached by one vote. Not only did it fail in the Senate, it didn't even go to trial in the Senate. The Senate Democrats immediately dismissed the charges, saying that being bad at your job, if in fact he was bad at his job, is not a high crime or a misdemeanor, which is what impeachment is for. He was kind of acquitted of the impeachment, but since there wasn't actually a trial, it was more like the charges were dismissed. No, I do think murdering a couple of unarmed people clinging to debris in the ocean is probably a crime. Maybe even a high one.